Welcome to the Life You Love podcast.
We're your hosts, Grace Lemire
and Erin Convertini.
This podcast is for the dreamers and the doers.
For the women who want to create a life they genuinely love waking up to.
We believe that life's short, so let's build one we love. Most of the women that listen to this podcast are the people who want to do it all, and so are we. We're all often managing so many decisions, and a lot of times we just need to simplify, so that's what today's episode is all about. I'm really excited about this one because I feel like decision fatigue is something that we don't talk about often enough, but if you really can gain control of your decisions, you can get a lot of clarity and make better decisions and more strategic and aligned decisions, which is what we want to help you guys do today.
I'm really excited about this episode today too, because I feel like I go through phases where sometimes I feel like I don't have enough on my plate, and then other times I feel like I have way too much on my plate. And I honestly feel like there isn't an increase in physical tasks that make me feel that way, but it's when I'm not optimizing for the things that we're going to talk about in today's episode that make me just feel overwhelmed. And a big theme of today's episode is really talking about how optimizing for when you're at your peak for decision making and you're going to be, I don't even want to say the most productive, but you're at your peak for, being able to make aligned decisions and being able to make them in a way that allows you to execute on the things that you actually want to get done is what we're going to be talking about in today's episode. So we wanted to start with the science of decision fatigue. And Grace, you put this quote or this stat in here that is actually kind of crazy. You said we make around 2,000 decisions per hour, one every second, nearly 35,000 remotely conscious decisions per day.
And those are okay. Y'all know I'm so fascinated by the psychology of all these things and the neuroscience of all of it. And basically those remotely conscious decisions, that doesn't even include the ones where you're making it just totally subconsciously, like when you decide to open your door or you decide to unlock your car or whatever, those little ones that happen subconsciously. These are the ones that are remotely conscious. That is insane to me. I did try to see, which it's not studied, I feel like it should. I tried to see how many decisions women make in particular, because women tend to, which it is in the research, women tend to manage a lot more of the domestic tasks, which include a lot more frequent decisions, versus men tend to think more about the more one-off, like the car and the whatever. Obviously that's stereotyping here, but that's what the data actually shows, is that in a lot of domestic relationships, women manage a lot more of the day-to-day house tasks. So then I feel like you would end up making more decisions than men, but it is under-researched. But regardless, we're still making 35,000 remotely conscious decisions per day, and decisions take significant mental effort because of the cognitive process. And it's quite extensive, actually, the process that your brain goes through. Although most of it happens kind of on autopilot, you're not actively thinking about it. There's decisions of that go on in your head of, okay, evaluating my options. And then your brain recalls past experiences to evaluate those options, and then you're actually making the decision. So even though you're not consciously thinking through every single one of these 35,000 decisions, that is so many. It's, I don't know, I can't even fathom that I make 35,000 decisions, but all that to say, this leads to a lot of people to decision fatigue, which is the exact definition is your decline in decision-making ability after making multiple choices. And that can then cause you to have worse judgment, be more impulsive, and avoid important tasks, none of which we want, especially for this specific group of women that listen to this podcast. And for us, we're the ambitious people that really want to do it all and want to make aligned decision and take aligned action. And when you're struggling, now you're being impulsive and you're struggling to make decisions, and then you're avoiding the tasks that are really going to move the needle. It's not a good place to be.
No, it's definitely not. And this is something that I think about so much in my day, and really trying to optimize my day for when I'm at my peak, decision making. I know for me, my schedule lately has been, I wake up pretty early and then I spend the first 2 to 3 hours on my computer doing deep work, strategizing work. When I am making the bulk of my decisions, it's always first thing in the morning. And I didn't put 2 and 2 together until we started making the outline for this video, why it is that that's my peak productivity time. But then I work out mid-morning most days, because if I wait until after work, then my decision fatigue might kick in and I might be feeling much less motivated and make a poor decision on whether or not I should be exercising. But this kind of brought me back to when I was working corporate and kind of the 9 to 5 schedule, because I feel like the 9 to 5 schedule goes completely against our decision fatigue schedule because I mean, for most of us, like let's say you go into your office at 9 a.m., the first hour of the day, you might just be like chatting with your friends at work and checking your emails. And then maybe around 11, you start doing like your kind of deep work tasks. And then you have meetings at like 4 p.m. That is the total opposite, I feel like, of what we should be
Mm-hmm.
doing. So really kind of like shifting that mindset and optimizing your day for when you're going to be able to make your best decisions can definitely help.
I also really want to make a video about this, and I think we could totally do a podcast episode on it too, but I'm still early in my research on this, but I want to share it because it goes so well with what you were just saying. I was just recently introduced to the psychological concept of a behavioral cascade, which is basically the idea that once you make like one, not necessarily bad decision, but you engage in like one bad habit, your likelihood to then engage in another and another and another goes up. And the same thing with good decisions and good habits. So I was like, it like just clicked in my head. I was like, oh my gosh, like my morning routine is probably the most important time of my day because it starts my behavioral cascade. If I like wake up and then I just like rot in my bed for a half hour instead of getting up, well, now I've made one bad habit, which then is gonna increase my likelihood to not follow through with the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. Versus if you have a very like a morning routine that feels really successful to you, or even if it's a night routine, you're more likely to engage in better behavior and better decision making throughout the day. I want to get into like the nitty gritty of it and do an episode on it. I think it'd be fascinating, but I want you to share a couple of the real world examples that you found that you added onto our outline because I saw some of these too when I was doing research and I think they're super fascinating.
Yeah, the couple that we have here is the first one. Judges were found to make more favorable rulings in the mornings and fewer as the day progressed. The second one is business analysts' forecast accuracy decreased throughout the day. And the third one is when mentally tired, people tend to make safer or default choices rather than carefully considered ones. And this one, like, actually blew my mind. I was like, oh my gosh, I should not be making any important decisions after the hour of like 2 or 3 p.m. I'm not even kidding. And honestly, like that is definitely applicable to me. Like I sit down to my computer, I try to be on my computer by 7:30 every day. And then I take a little break like mid-morning to work out. So probably from like 7:30 to 10. If it's something important, I know I have to get it done in those hours because afterwards, like, yes, I'm still executing on some of the things, but the decisions for what I'm executing on were made in the morning because my brain just completely turns off. Even this podcast, we're filming it 2:30 in the afternoon right now. And like we're doing fine, but all of the decisions for what we're talking about, I did those at 8 o'clock this morning.
Right. Yeah. It's just, I don't know. I think when you think too about the way in which you want to make decisions, like for me, when I make a decision, I want to feel clear and I want to feel like I am confident in what that decision is because, yeah, I have the clarity to be able to make that choice. And so when you think about, okay, by the end of the day, that's why also, which I just think is so cool, that's why also by the end of the day, like, you know when you eat your breakfast, you eat your healthy breakfast and then you pack your lunch and you're like, heck yeah, like I got my nutrient dense lunch, I got my fruit and my all my snack, you feel really good. And then by the time you come back for dinner, you're like, you know what? I'm just gonna like order something that's really not going to fuel my body versus actually making the choice to cook things. And so I think this goes well into the next kind of portion because we want to acknowledge decision fatigue, but then also bring you through how to get through that. And once again, I was so fascinated by this framework that I found. And also I'm going to be implementing this process. I just talked to my therapist about this today. I was like, I need to sit down and do this. So basically you want to identify what your decision drains are. One thing that I'm planning to do is make a literal map on paper, write it out. You are in the center of this paper and then make a line off of it to every single thing that you have to make a decision about or that you feel like is like decisions that are kind of pulling on you, right? Not like, well, I have to decide to open my door and I have to decide to turn my car on. Like the things that are really like, okay, getting dressed, what to eat, my relationship, how, or if you're dating, dating or my friendships, my job, my this, that, list everything out and pay really close attention to the decisions that you make, all of them for a few days. So getting dressed, your makeup, your hair, what you're packing for lunch, when you're leaving, decisions that you're making at work, and then make note of which ones are particularly draining, which ones occur most often, and how important they all are. So make that map so that you're, okay, these are all the areas I'm making decisions in. For a couple of days, pay close attention to those decisions. And you don't have to write out and like rate all of them if you don't want to, but it could be helpful if you prefer to really do that. And then ask yourself, like, which mundane tasks are becoming way harder than they need to be? Where is there points of friction that I can actually address? So, for example, I could never do this because I feel like this just wouldn't. I'm trying to be a fashionista girly. I am not there yet, but I'm aspiring. But there are people who only wear like jeans and a black top, or I don't know which founder, which
Mark
entrepreneur,
Zuckerberg.
Mark
He
Zuckerberg.
wears like the same. He's known for, obviously he's like one of the most famous billionaires or whatever.
Yeah.
He's known for literally only having like black t-shirts.
Yes.
In his.
Okay. I couldn't remember which one it was. But yeah. So like he only and the reason why is because then he doesn't have the decision fatigue of what to wear. It's the same thing. But also I've seen a lot of women do this with, they have their go-to outfits. So it's like, okay, like I personally want to own more dresses so that when I don't feel like making a choice about what to wear, I just grab a dress and my sandals. It's the easiest thing. That's why like men think we're wearing dresses to like look really. No, I'm wearing a dress so I don't have to think about it. So I don't have to put on pants and I don't have to think about what I'm wearing. Or I buy the matching set. Like I do this with my workout clothes. I always buy my workout clothes in a matching set because then when I'm going to get dressed for the gym, I just grab the set. I'm not thinking about like, does this match? Or, oh shoot, I wore this color sports bra earlier this week. So now I only have this one and this doesn't match the short. Like I just have it all there. And I think that's such a good practice to identify like what your decision drains are.
Yeah, 100%. I did this probably, it was maybe like a year and a half ago, I would say. I was just like going through it. I was feeling really burnt out. I feel like I've told this story on the podcast before, but I was feeling like really low. And I was just trying to identify different reasons that I was like feeling burnt out because I had no reason to feel burnt out, like literally at all. Like you're 23 years old, you have no real world problems, right? And I was coming to realize that a lot of it was coming down to like my small little mundane tasks were so much harder than they needed to be. Like, for example, I didn't have good habits around taking my clothes out of the dryer and putting them away. I would just kind of use my dryer as like my closet until I needed to do laundry, right? But then getting dressed was so difficult because I could never find my clothes, and putting together an outfit was exponentially harder than it needed to be. So like there is definitely a science behind keeping less pieces in your closet and keeping them organized so that when you do go to get dressed, you have like, for example, today I'm wearing a red sweatshirt and the matching red sweatpants. So I had them on the same hanger. I took it off the hanger, I put it on, and that was my entire outfit. Like matching sets work, the basics work. The dresses, I love that tip too. The other one here on this kind of like framework of listing out all of your different decisions is decisions that you can automate or delegate. I feel like automate might be like an easier one to digest, but it works the same way for delegation. And I feel like for me, for the longest time, I was so like hesitant to automate things and delegate things because I felt like the process of automating them and delegating them was harder up front than the actual task was. But now that we're like talking about this, I'm coming to realize that, and I've definitely gotten better around automating and delegating and all of the things. But yes, it's more work up front. But even if the task only takes you 5 to 10 minutes, like even if it's an easy task, what you're spending is the mental energy of having to make that decision to pull up your credit card app and pay off the bill, or physically transfer money into your savings account. Or like, for example, with the podcast, I'm the one that like pulls the social clips and like posts them onto the Instagram account, right? It's not hard. It doesn't take long at all, but it's just something that is in the back of my mind that's taking mental energy. So I feel like this can be applied to so many different things, but just automate and delegate whenever you can to free up that mental space.
Mm-hmm. Automation and delegation are actually like, when I was doing this research for this episode, I found this framework called the 4 Steps to Freedom. And it's not known where this framework comes from. I tried so hard to find it. If anyone listening happens to know the creator of it, let me know because I'd love to credit them. But I think it's actually genius. When I was researching, I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually such a good framework to follow to find relief in the decision making. So once you've identified your biggest decision drains, it says to focus on 4 things: eliminate, automate, delegate, and simplify. So eliminate are what decisions can you remove entirely. Automate is what decisions can you systematize. Delegate is I don't know why I stutter over that word. Delegate is what decisions can you outsource to somebody else, and simplify are what decisions can you make easier. So for example, I try to simplify getting dressed like I shared. I like to keep my outfits fairly basic during the week. I buy a lot of matching sets to make it easier to get dressed because I don't Like, it's not something I want to spend a lot of time thinking about in the morning. I also try to simplify what I eat each day. So when I go grocery shopping, I usually pick a few proteins and a few veggies and I prep them, and then I just put them in my fridge and I mix and match during the week. Or I'll pick something that I eat for like lunch and dinner for the next few days. There was just a video that I saw the other day. If I can find it, I'll link it in the show notes. The girl was talking about picking a theme for each week, and you have a few like rotating themes. So she did one week that was Mediterranean inspired. She was like the plug. She listed out all the groceries that you needed for it and then all the recipes on this one sheet. I'll see if I can find it and link it in the show notes. But that's such a great way to simplify. Okay, this week we're doing chicken and steak, and then we're going to have some potatoes and some veggies. Boom, there we go. Everything is prepped. I don't love to meal prep. I like to ingredient prep. That's another small thing I do. But then I just choose, okay, what veggie do I feel like eating? Let me smack it on the plate, heat it up, and there I go. And if I really want to cook like a big thing or something different, I usually save it for a specific week of the night or on the weekends. But otherwise, I'm keeping it simple during the week because I don't need to be spending a bunch of time like going back and forth and, being all over the place about
Yeah,
it.
I'm the exact same way. This is also why I love either grocery delivery or grocery pickup. Grocery pickup is free. So if you're sitting here being like, yeah, grocery delivery is great, but it's so expensive. Yes, I know. But literally yesterday, I ordered my groceries on Sunday night. And on the way home from the gym yesterday morning, I swung by and did grocery pickup and they brought it out to my car for me. And it's great because it's free. But why I love it is because in the app, once you do it once, all of the stuff that you buy is saved under your previously purchased items. So instead of wandering around the grocery store, you can literally just go back to that page and click rebuy. I eat the same exact things every single week. And then, yeah, I do the same thing. I kind of ingredient prep. I like to prep a couple different proteins. So I honestly do a lot of ground meat because it's just like super versatile. So I'll do like ground beef, ground turkey, ground chicken, and then I'll do a couple bases. So I'll do rice and quinoa, and then I usually roast a bunch of different veggies like all in the same kind of sheet pan or like two different variations of it. So then, yeah, when I'm building my meals, I can build a bunch of different meals around all of those different ingredients, but they're all like protein, carbs, veggies, and you kind of just go from there. So you can make things super simple. I was like looking at this framework that you put in here, the 4 different types of decisions that you can eliminate, automate, delegate, and simplify. And I was like, okay, what are some things that I do throughout the week to try to do these types of things? And the big one for me, I think, is eliminating decisions throughout my work week. And I try to do this like at the beginning of every single week, especially on a Sunday. I will go into my Notion planner and I'll try to like organize my entire week for all of my work tasks before the week even starts. And what that does is on the actual days, I just felt like I was spending so much time during my work days deciding what I wanted to work on. So doing that on a Sunday before the week even starts, I like eliminate the need for making those work type decisions because I know exactly what my to-do list is every single day.
I think that's a great example of the simplify aspect of this framework because, yeah, like you said, you're taking a specific period of time to decide what you're going to do the rest of the week so that each day you're not saying, oh, what am I doing today? What am I doing today? Because that's the reality of it. Same thing. A good example would be like if you don't really have control over your workday and like what you do necessarily is your workout schedule. So at the beginning, instead of being like, what do I feel like doing today? Maybe on a Sunday, you're like, okay, here's the workout classes I'm going to, or maybe you set it up if you use like a class pass or something. Maybe you sign up for all your workout classes for the month. Like the first of every month, you sit down for 30 minutes and you're like, here are all the workout classes I'm doing so that every week I'm not being like, I don't know what I want to do. I think I want to talk about a couple other examples of things in different areas of life to give people some ideas and also to talk more about like the automate and eliminate and delegate side of things. I will say when it comes to the delegation part of things and also potentially the eliminate and automate side of things, depending on what you're eliminating or automating, you have to be okay with good enough decisions over perfection, especially if you decide to delegate. There are certain things that you need done a specific way, and you might feel like you're the only one who could do that, and that's fine. Those become like your important tasks that those are your core tasks. But if there are other things that you're trying to delegate, you might have to be okay with good enough. And so I think that's something just to keep in mind. So just be careful with what you delegate. But also, I mean, for work purposes, there might be, like you had said, a period of upfront investment where you're kind of training that person on how to do something. Reality is, in most cases, when you're delegating, the person's not going to do it as well as you do it. They're not going to do it up to your standards unless, again, you're training someone appropriately to do what you need them to do. But when it comes to delegating certain things like hiring a cleaner, or maybe you hire, if you have kids, you hire someone to drive your kids to school or to sports practice, or maybe you're like, you know what, I don't want to have to walk my dog. You hire someone to walk your dog, or you hire, what do they call them? Like a travel, what is that called? A travel agent. I wanted to say travel planner. You hire a travel agent to plan your trip so that you're not sitting there making all the decisions about what you're doing. But I want to go through a couple areas of life that I think, we can give people some ideas. Wardrobe systems, we've talked about this already, but this is a big one. I personally don't love the idea of a capsule wardrobe. I feel like it ends up being very just overly neutral. And I do wear a lot of neutral clothes, but I feel like it gets a little bit boring for me. But a lot of people love a capsule wardrobe, or just have solid basics that you can easily do, like jeans and a top, shorts and a top. Make sure your basics are there, because when you don't feel like making a decision, then that can be your default. I heard, or yeah, a lot of successful people, that's what they do. They wear the same outfit all the time to then minimize decision fatigue. You don't have to wear jeans and a black shirt like Mark Zuckerberg or whatever, but that's an option as well.
Yeah, one of my favorite podcasters, she is obviously very busy. She has a podcast, a business, all of the things. And she says that at the beginning of the week, she actually has a clothing rack, and she lists out all of her clothes that she's going to wear for the entire week and puts them on the clothing rack. So when it's Monday, she goes and she grabs her Monday outfit. When it's Tuesday, she grabs her Tuesday outfit. And I actually love that idea. I feel like I'm not that organized. And also I work from home. So it's kind of like, yeah, just a rotation of like leggings and sweatpants all the time. But if you are like, if you have a lot going on and you do need your business casual outfits for the office, like put them onto a clothing rack and just say like, I already picked out my Monday outfit, and just go about your week.
I've heard this too, of like laying out, even just laying your outfit out the night before. Same to you, or same as you. I work from home, so I wear a lot of just active wear, especially living in Florida. It's hot. So when I'm going for a walk after work, I'm not wearing linen shorts and like I'm just wearing my like workout clothes. But I think finding ways to simplify that is really good, or dresses or matching sets or things like that. And also get rid of the clothes that you don't like. Don't have them in there and then you're like combing through it every single time. Be like, oh, should I wear this? How do I style this? Da, da, da. Like, make it clothes you actually like. But we have an episode all on closet stuff and styling. But the other area I want to talk about is meal planning. This is definitely a big thing. I think this is the classic, at the end of the day, the what do we have for dinner is the thing that I think drives people nuts, in lunches and planning all of that. One thing I did that definitely helped, I have a good flow for this now, so I don't really need to do this anymore. But one thing I did last year when I moved into my very first apartment and was like, yeah, what do I cook for dinner every day now that I'm the one who has to decide, is I would keep a list of the recipes that I really loved. And so I would keep them in a Notion little page. And then when I was like, oh, like, what do I want to make? I just go there and I'm like, oh, right, I love this recipe. Here's everything I need for it. And I think that's a good way to think about it, or having like a default meals roster of go-tos that are really easy. And then there was another girl whose video I saw on social. I saw it like months and months ago, so I don't remember who it was from, but she talked about a grocery shopping framework that she has, where she does like 2 or 3 proteins, 4 or 5 veggies, 3 or 4 fruits. Like, it was a thing like that. And she always uses that framework because you can mix or match everything that's there. And that's more of what I do now, is I pick a few fruits, a few veggies, and some proteins, and then I just kind of mix and match. But I feel like that really simplifies a lot of the process.
Another thing that helps me is keeping pantry staples that can create meals when I feel like I don't have anything. I have like go-tos that I can like make a meal out of nothing almost. A couple off the top of my head are overnight oats, or just like literally oatmeal. I always have oats in my pantry. I'll always keep like chia seeds and flax seeds, and I usually have some type of berries. But if I don't have any fresh berries, I always have frozen fruit, like frozen mixed berries or frozen blueberries. So I like can make a meal, and I'll add protein powder to it or whatever to add some protein in. But that's a meal that I can literally whip together out of nothing if I have no groceries. And the other one is just like, I'll have pasta or protein pasta, and then I always have frozen vegetables in my freezer. Like frozen vegetables are just a go-to as well. So yeah, other than like grocery shopping consistently, I think just having a couple of little things like here and there that you can whip together a meal if you're actually scraping by. But the next one that we wanted to talk about was finances, and I feel like this is an area where the automation portion really comes into play because there's so many different things that you can automate with your finances, and we've talked a lot about that on our podcast before, obviously. But if you know how much you want to save every single month in your high yield savings account, just go into your savings account and set up the automation. It actually takes like 2 seconds. I feel like people overcomplicate this, but same thing with your investing goals. If you are really against budgeting and manually tracking your expenses, then use a budgeting app and let it do it for you. I know for me, budgeting is the one thing that I prefer to do manually. It's like I automate everything else, but then my expenses, I just want to keep a closer eye on. But I really got it to a point where my money habits and like the routines that I have to do around my money take me no more than 10 minutes a week.
I also think it's important to meet yourself where you are, because I'm the same way with manually tracking. I feel like it helps me really see every single expense and think about where I'm spending every dollar. But if you're listening to this episode and you're like, you know what, like the last thing that I want to do is sit down and be like, when am I tracking my money and how am I doing it? And da da da. Like, if you really are so overloaded, absolutely get to like a budgeting app that's going to automate it. And then, if you're finding that because part of this decision fatigue is the impulsivity. You end up making impulsive decisions. And so if having a budgeting app on your phone that automatically tracks things allows you, in the moment when you're feeling fatigued and you're like, I'm going to make an impulsive decision, if having that access to that app that tracks it makes it easier for you as well. Like, meet yourself where you are. You don't have to start, a mile ahead. I think manual tracking is like, I do think it is like a really good option. But yeah, set your bills up on auto pay. Like, try to automate as much of it as you can so that you don't have to think about. Okay, the next area we want to talk about a little bit, and sorry if this episode's cutting around, guys. There's been so many random sounds happening that we keep
Bella just keeps barking.
Yeah, Bella keeps barking. So if you're watching the video version and you're seeing Bella in the bottom corner, our girl is joining us now. We keep having to pause and restart. So bear with us. Anyways, we want to talk about the next section is like life organization. And I think this is an area where you can really delegate. And I think we can get really creative about how we delegate here. For example, having someone to come and clean your house. That's a great example. And I will say, if you live in an apartment, you can still do this. I've seen videos of people saying they came to hire someone to clean their apartment, and people are like, why are you hiring a cleaner to clean your apartment? Like, that's so crazy. I'm like, some apartments are, first of all, it doesn't matter how many square feet your apartment is, whether you have a studio or a 4-bedroom apartment, it doesn't matter. Your space should be clean and you deserve to live in a clean space. So if getting to that end goal means hiring somebody because you're so fatigued from all the dang decisions that you're making, so freaking be it. But also, like, my apartment in my last place was 1,300 square feet. That's more than some of the houses that I looked at on Zillow. So technically I have more to clean. So why we're all being, so like up in arms about whether, like, people were like, I don't even have someone clean my house. Would you like a cookie or a gold star? You know what I mean? It's not a competition. I thought it was odd.
I also think some people just enjoy it more. It's like anything else. Like, some people enjoy the process of cleaning. It's therapeutic. I know for me, like, sometimes it's therapeutic. Sometimes I'll put on a podcast. Other times that's the last thing that I want to do.
Right.
Like, so I'm like, if you want
do
to.
it. Yeah. And I don't know. I just think people get all weird about it. But look on TaskRabbit, because there's a lot of people who do house cleaning there, and also like just local businesses that offer it. But which brings me to my next thing is delegate if you don't want to do it or you don't want to make decisions about it. Delegate tasks like hanging pictures, building furniture, stuff like that on TaskRabbit. I actually enjoy building furniture. Like, I built a lot of the furniture in my apartment. It was very therapeutic to me. But when I was like brains on overload, I'm making too many decisions, I was like, okay, I'm not going to sit here and be like, okay, now I need to carve out time to build this piece of furniture. There were certain things that I just outsourced on TaskRabbit, hanging my pictures, all of that type of stuff, because I just was dealing with the decision fatigue of moving. Another one is that I think is interesting is you can hire people on Fiverr or Upwork for pretty much anything. And one I think is interesting is you can hire someone to clean out your inbox. So if your email inbox is so overloaded and you're like, I don't want to sit down and decide, like, what do I need to unsubscribe to, and hire somebody to help you do it. Like, I don't know. It's just, yes, it sounds silly, but I know people get so overwhelmed with those things, and you can hire people to literally do almost anything for you.
I know a lot of people in like the entrepreneurial space that have executive assistants, which basically just literally do every single life task for them that can be done remotely. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you are going on a vacation and you need that vacation booked, or if you are need to call customer service about something, like your executive assistant would, like, they're just so ingrained with your life that they do
Mm-hmm.
literally everything for you, which I love that for them. I feel like I would probably need someone like that because I am very disorganized in a lot of different things, and I do need someone to clean out my email inbox. I will probably have my VA work on that now that you mention it. But the other one for the life organization one is putting your personal care and household necessities on subscription with Amazon. I feel like that's kind of an underrated one too, because like if you're out of paper towels, you kind of have to run to the grocery store to get them. Like how
Mm-hmm.
are you surviving without, or toilet paper, or
Yeah.
like literally you need to go to the store and just buy those things. So put them on subscription. And like tampons, like put them on
Yeah.
subscription. When you need a tampon, you need a tampon. So you just put them on subscription. I never
It's
need
so
to with
true, though.
with the life organization ones and like delegating all of the tasks. Like, yeah, it's just about pinpointing what you don't enjoy and what you're sitting there dreading, and like the tasks that you're putting off. Like for me, breaking down cardboard boxes
Ugh.
is the worst thing ever.
No, it is.
So I put it off.
My
Yeah.
gosh.
And then I live with a bunch of cardboard boxes stacked up by my door, which is diminishing my quality of life, which is like, this is totally first world problems.
No, but it's like it really is though, because I had these bar stools that I bought, and if you saw my Instagram story, they're like, I have an odd height counter, so my bar stools, like, they need to be a certain height that's just like not common. So I bought these ones I thought were gonna work. They're a little bit too high, but I'm keeping them because I won't get my money back if I return them. It's just a whole thing. I kept the boxes for like a month afterwards, and they were just sitting in the front of my apartment in this little like nook over by my guest bath. Ridiculous. Why are they there? Like, break them down and bring them downstairs. But I was like, ugh, like they were too big to put in the like cardboard bin that we have. So then I had to ask like my apartment, where do I leave them? Because I don't want to get fined if I put them somewhere that they're not supposed to be, because my name's on the box so they would know whose it's from. But it's just like all these things that I'm like, and I think that's why moving was so annoying, for not annoying, but so mentally draining, like way more mentally draining than I thought, because there were a million decisions of which couch do I want to buy, which color of this am I buying, which TV stand, which TV, which plants, like all of the things, that it just becomes so freaking exhausting.
Yeah, those things stress me out too. When I moved, the best thing that I did was I paid for my friend's flight to fly up to Nashville the weekend that I moved to help me move and buy things, because I knew the decision overload I literally would not be able to handle starting over from like having all I brought down here was what could fit in my car. So I had to buy everything. And like you said, there's so many decisions.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the big furniture I kind of figured out, but she went to Home Goods with me. She forced me to put the area rugs in my cart because we couldn't build my bed until the area rug got put into my bedroom. Just little things like that. Like I would not have been able to make those decisions by myself.
Yeah, honestly, I know I had my friend come down with me on my drive, and I ended up making a lot of the decisions about my space after she had left, but she helped me get through some of the initial things, and it is really helpful. The last category we want to talk about is workouts and like exercise. And this is an area where I have decision fatigue, simply because I like to exercise in a lot of different ways. I've started playing pickleball and I really enjoy doing that. I enjoy going on long walks. I enjoy Legree. I enjoy hot yoga. And so it comes down to like, well, what am I going to do this week, and what exercise, like, and which classes should I go to, and which studios? And I'm still finding my favorite studios here and testing different ones out, and that's part of it. But just if you can simplify this, where you're like, okay, I am going to do 3 workout classes a week, and they're always going to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or they're going to be Saturday, Sunday, Monday, whatever works for you. And then thinking through, okay, I'm going to do 1 Legree, 1 hot yoga, 1 HIIT class, or whatever the combination is, coming up with some sort of framework for yourself to kind of think through that. And then picking a time to be like, I'm gonna register for these classes, I think is a really good way to go about it. But also I wanted to mention, and this goes for all of these categories, I've mentioned this so many times in the podcast, AI. I'm obsessed with Claude, and I think everyone should use it, and I think it really helps with decision fatigue. But you can plug in to AI once you've identified your decision drains and some of the big decisions or repeating decisions that are really bothering you or are stressing you out or overwhelming you, put in the list of decisions and ask for it to give you ideas for how to simplify, because that in itself is a decision, right? When you're like, how am I going to simplify it? That's another, you're making a decision about how you're going to simplify it. So having another sounding board to be like, okay, this is overwhelming me. What are some ways I can simplify this decision is also a way to make that decision faster.
Yeah, I love
With
that.
less decisions.
I don't use AI for a lot of like life personal things, but my best friend, she uses ChatGPT for literally everything. I'm not kidding. ChatGPT does every single thing for her. And she'll always send me like its responses and just like recipes. She's like, "Oh, I have this in my fridge. Like make me a recipe," and it'll do it. So yeah, AI can help you with so many things. But yeah, the last little note on working out, because this is something that I think about a lot, like in the topic of simplifying, because obviously like booking a fitness class, that's a very easy way to simplify it because it's very objective. You booked it for 7 a.m., you have to be there by 7 a.m. But for a lot of people, if it's not in your budget or you're not a fitness class person, I know for me, I love going to the gym and working out by myself because it's kind of like my me time. You can still simplify in other ways. Like there are a million YouTube videos of workouts where you can put it on your phone and it'll walk you through your entire workout, tell you exactly what to do, or fitness apps. My other friend, she follows, I forget which app she uses, but I've used a couple in the past that it'll put your entire workout program on there and it'll say Monday you're doing this, Tuesday you're doing this, and then it'll give you all of your exercises for your Monday workout. So there are definitely ways to simplify, even if it's not in your budget to do fitness classes every day or if you don't enjoy them. But I think that brings us to the end of today's episode. This was a really fun one. So let us know in Spotify if you guys liked it or if there's anything else on the topic of decision making or productivity or anything that you want us to cover in a future episode. You can also DM us on Instagram at The Life You Love Pod. But thanks for tuning into the podcast, and until next week.